We are all rearing with questions for Prof. Let's have the first question.
Based on what you, so based on your sharing, do you have any suggestion or solution for us?
After that meeting with my friend in Temasek, I was very disturbed that we don't have the people to use the money properly. So then, together with my colleagues, we did a video, which is now you can get it on YouTube, on how to turn the whole of Singapore into an enterprise campus city. Okay, so that the best and brightest in Asia and particularly Southeast Asia will come to Singapore and live and learn with our students. Because the friendships formed when you live and learn together, it will last forever. And friendship is the future of anything you want to do. You right? So this is the answer to the Temasek question, right? But the question is how to do that. So in that video, we said we start by changing the whole of NTU into the first of all the campuses eventually to become enterprise campuses. What is an enterprise campus? The important thing about the land question in Singapore is that land cost is the killer of initiative in Singapore, right? A young fella, a young couple, maybe in the late 20s or early 30s, who buy an apartment. My stepson-in-law and daughter-in-law just bought an apartment, HDB, for 650,000. I said to them, "You're mad. You're going to spend the rest of your life paying it." All right? And they said, no, because after 5 years we can sell, right? And we can sell at a profit. And then I said, what are you going to do? Buy another HDB flat at 750,000? So this is the problem, see, and therefore this I call the debt trap. No? If you are in a debt trap, you dare not try anything, you dare not invent anything, you dare not get out of the mainstream of things, right? You have to play safe. So if you're an employee, you better don't upset your boss. So just obey, right? Whatever you want, just do. So all campuses, under the present zoning, the land value is zero or close to zero. Okay? So if government or whoever is the government is smart enough, we will make sure that it remains at zero. So we did a study of NTU. NTU population, daytime population is 40,000. Nighttime population is 20,000 because there are very few people living there. Only 20% of students live in hostel. NUS is 10%. The URA rules is that, present rules is that only 2% of the entire floor area can be used for non-education purpose. This is the rule, which must be changed if you want to turn it into an enterprise campus. Because an enterprise campus means all the startup companies must be located in very cheap rental places. This means campus, right? I had a meeting with Enterprise Singapore, and they said, no, it's a good idea, but we already have so many locations for startup companies. I said, yes, you have, but they are all in the wrong places because the ecosystem in which they are located is not supportive. They say, what do you mean by ecosystem? I say, simple, right? I have been in touch with some of the key professors in NTU, right? For example, Professor Chan Siu Wah is regarded in the world as one of the top scientists on hydrogen and carbon economy, okay? And he told me he's so frustrated because he has a lot of patents and he's not the only one. There are many. NTU has the highest number of patents of all the universities, okay? And they cannot implement, they cannot financialize any of those patents. So he told me his patent was sold to China and sold to Switzerland for dirt cheap. Okay, this is what's happening. Why? Because our bureaucrats dare not use the money, right? Because there's nobody to use to dare to invest, right? Right? So this is the problem. So we must co-locate onto campus startup companies to mix with the students, to mix with the professors, so that there's an ecosystem in which there's communication between these different people. We must bring in venture capitalists to work closely with them, and so on and so forth. So this was a video which we did, and it was done because we have to be careful. So we don't want to appear to be, trying to outshine the government, right? Because I learned my bitter lesson from the Spur days, right? So I sent a copy of the video to URA. I sent it to Peter Ho, who is the chairman of URA and also a member of the Science Entrepreneurial Committee in PMO. And they all replied to me that, oh, very good ideas, right? So then I had a meeting with Desmond Lee, right, who is the Minister of National Development, and I showed him the movie, we discussed it, he was very enthusiastic about it. Then he looked at me and says, how to implement? I said, you need 4 ministers, Minister of Finance, Minister of Trade and Industry, Minister of Education, and Minister of I can't remember. He looked at me, blank, boy. Because he knows it's almost impossible to cross ministries. Every minister is in a silo. You cannot cross. And all the bureaucrats are all in silo. Nobody talks to each other. Right? Then the other day I bumped into George Yeo. I went into cricket club to wait for a friend, right? And George was sitting there. He waved at me. So said, oh, so he was waiting for somebody as well. So we sat together and we chit-chatted. I said, hey, things have to change, right? He said, yeah. What do you think of Lee Hsien Loong? I asked him, what do you think of Lee Hsien Loong? He said, very soft. He's too soft. This is the problem, you see. They are soft, therefore they dare not bang the bloody table. Which Lee Kuan Yew did, you see. You don't do what he says, you bang the table, you get out. Okay, so this is the problem now. See, we have soft people, right? And then you have a hatchet man. So you have between the soft and the hatchet, right? So nothing happens now. So now what? So in the meantime, interestingly, they are all very intelligent people, no? Right? Malaysia under Anwar, right? Singapore also very concerned about the future. Anwar says he needs 20,000 engineers. He can't get 20,000 engineers because all the previous administrations in Malaysia have screwed up the education system completely, right? They have screwed up the education system completely, so they don't have the qualified people, right? And then the Sultan of Johor's son, right, approached Singapore, right? I'm sure instigated by his father, right? And they had a meeting maybe about six months ago that Singapore and Johor should consider a special economic zone, right? And then there was a meeting, and then now there's a final meeting, and there's an agreement, right? So this is very crucial. Why? It's crucial for Malaysia, it's crucial for Singapore. Because I think the future of Singapore actually is in Johor. The Johor-Singapore SDZ is 5 times the size of Singapore. Okay, it stretches from Pontian on the west to wherever that is on the east. So it's a huge thing, right? So I've set up a design research group, actually modeled after Spur. Okay, I had a meeting with the Institute of Architects. They are excited by the idea because they know that the number of jobs for architects in Singapore is shrinking, and their future is actually in Johor. So they have agreed to join. I had a meeting with the head of the architectural school in NUS and the dean of the as well also agreed, so that we formed a team. Last night I had a meeting with the new head of the sustainability section of SUTD, Khoo Peng Beng. He's agreed to join. So now we have NUS, School, the Architectural Association, and SUTD. We now form this whole team. Okay. Then I had I gave a copy of this book to Taman. I emailed him. I say I want to give you the book. He says come. So I went to Istana. I gave him a copy of the book. He read it carefully. Then he asked for a second copy. So I said, oh my goodness, is he going to give the second copy to ISD? Whatever, but he was interested in it. And I explained to him that I'm setting up this design research group, the purpose of which is not to upstage the government, right? Because I learned the lesson, the bitter lesson from the Spur experience. But it is to train a new generation of young people who know how to work across the border. The Institute of Architects is now forming a team with the Johor Institute of Architects, right? So that we have a partner across the border, okay? So this is going to happen, and the key project which I'm suggesting is to set up an enterprise campus in Johor, so that the best and brightest in Southeast Asia can live and learn with us. Mainly because it's so much cheaper, right? You can't get a student from, say, Jogja or something like that, right, who can't afford to live in Singapore because the cost is just impossible. But in Johor, it's possible, right? So this is going to be I think the core project, right? And Anwar will certainly support it. Okay, so this is going to be, to answer your question, I think the beginning of a new future.
We have a second question. Paul?
Yeah, we just heard the announcement that SUSS is going to take over the Rochor Centre site.
The what?
The Singapore University of Social Sciences,
Yeah.
SUSS,
Yeah.
they are currently occupying the SIM campus in
Yeah.
Canteen. And they don't even have their own canteen, they have to share the canteen with SIM.
Yeah.
So yesterday it was announced that they'll be taking over the Rochor Centre, you know, the colourful blocks, right? So what would you advise whoever is going to design because it's right
The key issue is the land price. If
I
you're
think they've been given the site.
but you're given the site at what price?
No idea.
If the university, the new university is going to pay commercial rates, they are dead from day one, right? So it has to be zoned as an educational zone. Then the land price is fixed as an educational zone. You see, because there's a secret land pricing model in Singapore. Because the government owns 80% of the land, therefore it has to have a way of calculating, right? So we can only guess that the way of calculating is existing commercial transaction rates in different areas, right? So in the city area, in the downtown area, the price is probably much higher. than say in Woodlands, right? So different locations will have different market price base price. And then there's going to be kind of economic situation, right, which will dictate if it's a boom economy, then we can add a certain incremental factor, right? But at the same time, we must ensure that the resale value of the older people who bought their flats before, right, who are hoping to sell their flat to support their retirement, right, that the resale price will not fall to a certain low level, which will affect their retirement. Right? If it affects their retirement, it's going to affect the voting pattern, and therefore PAPU must make, it's electoral politics. Okay, so they are caught in this situation, right? They cannot reduce it too much, they cannot increase it too much. So what do? Give out vouchers now. So this is the trap. So the trap is not just the people are in the trap. No? The government itself in the trap. So they created their own trap. See, they trap themselves. Okay, I understand your question. Yeah, what's the second question?
And for the second question is, in terms of the land use policies, how do you think they will need to change in the future?
Okay, the first question. Some years ago, I had proposed that the reserves that are used, we invest the reserves. The premise on my logic is that the reserves is owned by the people, okay, and therefore a proportion of the return on investment, right, must become a citizen's dividend automatically, right? You just calculate, if it is $1 trillion, right, and the return on investment is 2.5%, let's say, right? How much is that? Take that amount, divide by the total population, right? We give you the average return on investment per year, okay? Now, they have to be modified because we have new citizens as well, and we have new children that are born, right? So there has to be a graduated scale, right? The longer you have served this country, that means the longer you have lived here, because everybody who lives here, I mean, most people who live here, right, have contributed to the nation. Because if there's nobody living here, the land value is zero, correct? But because we all live here, therefore in some way or other, we have contributed to the value of this place. Therefore, we should earn a return on our investment which we have contributed, all right? So, I'm not arguing this because I'm 84 years old now, okay? I'm saying that the longer you have lived means the longer you have served. Therefore, you should get more, right? A child who is just born will get almost zero. A new citizen will get zero. But as he lives and works here and contributes to Singapore, he will increase his stake, right? So this is the formula, right? I made this public, and I think the logic is irrefutable. But electoral politics is such, they're not going to make this as a right. You have to be given bits and pieces so that at the right time you will then know how to vote. So this is electoral politics. So when you say, is it enough? Of course it's not enough, right? And the idea of being not enough is that you hope you can get more later. So you do not want to upset the system. And the Workers' Party actually said this publicly in their presentation, right? They said that we know very well The public will vote for us because they want us to be in parliament to question the government. But they don't want us to become the government. Because they want the present government. Because the present government will give them what they want. And it will give them more when they get chocho more, see. So the whole idea of an opposition is to chocho the government, not to be a new government. Okay?
Second question, land use policy change.
I think it cannot change because they are trapped they're trapped, you see, right? You cannot reduce the land price because it's going to affect the old guys. You cannot, but you need to reduce the land price because the young people are trapped. They cannot become your innovators of the future. I think cannot be solved.
Okay, so just now the citizens' dividend and the land cost and even your scenario 2 of a coalition of parties to form the new government, these are very long-term solutions. I would like to bring it back to mid-term. I work closely with you and I know about the new Asian University. What I'm most excited about the NSU is the curriculum. So could you elaborate on the curriculum for the new Asian University and why it's so radical?
Yeah, but I like to develop that idea now, but let's wait for. But what's your question first?
Since Singapore is land scarce, should the plot ratio be eradicated for buildings?
Okay. First of all, this land scarce. The land scarce thing is rubbish. Okay, it's a fiction. It's an absolute fiction. I did research on this, right, with my students, right. We checked the price. We checked the total floor area per person in a developed economy. In an undeveloped economy, let's say like Sri Lanka, the floor area per person is less. In a big country, in a economically very vibrant country like America, the floor area per person is bigger. Okay, so we got the data from Fairfax County, which is the county next to Washington DC, right? Which is considered to be the most successful county in the whole of the United States. So the data is very important. They gave the data on the total floor area of non-residential floor area. That means the shopping areas, the government offices, the factories, the hotels, all the non-residential. And interestingly, the data they publish, we then divide that by the total population, right? It's only 20 square meters per person, okay? Then we conjecture, American houses are much bigger than our houses, okay? So if you have an average number of people per house, well, let me talk about the Singapore case so that we can get an estimation of the American floor area per house. The average floor area per house in Singapore, if you take all the houses, good class bungalows, semi-Ds, terrace houses, HDB, 1 room, 2 room, 3 room, 4 room, 5 room, whatever, you take it all together, it's about 100 square meters per house. Okay? The average occupancy is 4 persons. You got to add the maid as well, because everybody occupies floor area. Now be clear, I'm not talking about land area, I'm talking about floor area, okay? So 100 divided by 4 is 25. 25 square meters plus 20 square meters is 45, okay? Okay, let's be generous. Let's say the total, because Singapore is a trading society, right? So we have a lot of goods coming in, we need to store, we need to fabricate and so on and so forth. So let's say it's 25. Our houses are 25, so it's 50 square meters per person, right? So 50 square meters times 6 million. What's that? 300 million square meters. Right? What is the total land area of Singapore? It's 740 square kilometers, right? Let's just say it's 700, because you've got to take away the nature reserve and all that, right? Let's say it's 700 square kilometers, which is 700 million square meters. So you have, what was it? 6 times 5, 300, right?
300.
So the floor area, the total floor area of 6 million people is 3.5 million, 350 million square meters against 700. So it's half, right? So imagine if every building is 1 story, right? So in other words, if you just put all the buildings as 1 story on the land, you will cover 50% of the land, correct? If it's 2 story, 25%. If it is 4 story, 12.5%. Where's the problem? We have no shortage of land. In other words, the fiction on land use, of land shortage, is to make sure the land price goes up. It's a bloody game.
I am very sorry, we will have to take 1 or 2 last questions, so if you have any burning questions, please. You can always talk to Prof after the thing, but you have to wrap up, I'm afraid. So, any last questions?
Oh, your question about education, right?
Curriculum. Yeah, you want to talk about that? Yeah, why don't you share that and take that as the last question?
Okay, education is very important now, and you have to talk about the higher education and the school system, right? I've been over this question for years, right?
This one is better. That one is great.
Hello? Yeah, I've been vexing over this question for years. The first thing is that if you want to change the education system, where should you focus your energy? If you focus on the school system, you will take minimum 24 years. Okay? 12 years, right? If you focus on higher education, you can get it in 8 years, 4 years. So therefore, you should focus on higher education, right? Whilst you try and sort out the school education system, right? And you need to focus on the higher education because you need to train that group of people who can transform the Singapore economy. They have to become the innovators and with the brains and the guts, right? Now we have brains but no guts, right? We have brains but no balls. So this is crucial. This is the crucial thing, right? So that's why the enterprise campus is absolutely crucial, right? Okay, then how do you, what kind of education? The important strategy in education is to connect the head, the heart, and the hand. Then you have a complete person, okay? Because now you concentrate on the head, the heart feels nothing. Got no sentiment, no feeling for people, right? You just, no, head, you're a bureaucrat, right? Bureaucrat only take instruction, right? You don't know how to do because you never use your hands, right? So the head, the heart, and hand is crucial, which means that the whole curriculum has to change completely, right? In other words, the core of education is what we call experiential learning, right? So it means that you have to have a different kind of higher education and school education, right? In higher education, there should be no more faculties, university faculty no more, right? Everybody has to have a core curriculum, I will talk about that, but the student designs his own course. So if you are going to study architecture, you may take that as your major, and you have at least 2 minors, right? The minor will be maybe in philosophy or in economics or whatever. You can choose. In other words, you want to train people who have a broader understanding of their role in life, okay, their expertise. The core curriculum is fundamental, and this is totally missing, right, in the world that we live in. Why? Because the world that we live in is dominated by the Euro-American order. They don't want you to know that the world is completely engineered by them. Therefore, the core curriculum is about the implications on humanity by international imperialism. This is a core. Everybody must understand that. If you don't understand that, you do not know your mission in life, right? So if you don't understand that, then the role of an architect, I know very well, is just to do a beautiful building. What the heck for, right? I tell my architect friends, what are you doing? You are just doing visual entertainment. It doesn't change the world, right? We are in a situation, a historical moment in which we either change the world or the world will change us. That's the role of education. Thank you.
Before we go, if you could indulge me in a short brief about us, Function 8. We are actually a group of friends who come together to make different events like this to help share ideas to the rest of society and our own community. Most of us are retirees. Some of us are casual workers.
Let's see, young fellas.
Yeah, casual workers with no protection, no insurance, no welfare, no benefit, and they're also like me, unemployed people. So if you could help us defray the cost of this event, there are 2 boxes at the back. Any amount would help us, and if you really feel that you want to join us in this and future events, we also have film festivals and film screenings and discussions like this. Come join us. So all our F8 people are around, please talk to us.
No, I just want to say that the publisher of the book, right, has told me, and I agree, that the price of the book is $30, but $10 will go to Function 8.
Thank you, sir.
So thanks again for coming, and we hope to see you again next month for our film screening. And if you want to meet with Prof, please come and talk to him. Thank you. Good night.